Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Beyond the Physical. I'm your host, Holly Mullins. Tonight is a very special night, and my dear friend Joe is going to be with us. Hey, Joe.
Hi, Holly. How are you?
I am good. I'm great. Me and Joe's actually been talking in the background here before the show started, just catching up a little bit. And we actually got to meet in person at Salem, Mass. At Selma Paracon. Selma. Gosh, I've been talking about Selma. Salem Paracon.
That was back in April. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that.
Yes. It was really, really fun. So, just to tell everybody a little bit about you, Joe, you're a paranormal investigator with over 30 years of working with the paranormal in the United States and many other countries. You're the founder of Pacific. I'm really bad at saying this.
Investigations. Yeah. Oh, she giggles a lot.
I do. In Southern California, helping people with their paranormal issues in California, Arizona, and Nevada. I can't talk. Joe, you're a published author of 2 books with 3 more in progress. I'm interested to know about that because I didn't know that.
Really?
No, I didn't. How did I not know that?
I was sitting outside the where were we standing? Right outside of the Why Not Wand Shop, I guess. In
Yeah.
Salem? Yeah. We I've written 2 books. The first is a young adult book. It's called The Blue Orb, and a couple of teenagers think they see a ghost in the attic, one of the kids' attics, and they decided they're going to start investigating. And this turns into a great big investigation that affects the whole town, the whole area. There's some pretty mean spirits and things like that trying to control everything. So it's kind of a fun book. Get a whole bunch of different people together and solve the problem. And the second one is called 13 Tales of the Paranormal, and it's 13 short stories that I wrote. Some of them are based on some of the cases that I've done or some things I've experienced, but most of them are just fiction. I just take some inkling of an idea and start with that, write up some stories. My nom de plume on Amazon is J.E. Thompson. There's another J.E. Thompson, but look for The Blue Orb and 13 Tales of the Paranormal. They're on Amazon with J.E. Thompson as the author, and you'll find them.
Wow. See, I didn't know that. I feel like I'm out of the loop here.
The others that are coming out are I've got one that's called The Witch's Book. I've got another one called Insane, and there's another one that I've been working on for a long time. The Glowing Stone. I haven't got very much of that one done, but the 3 of them, those are the working titles, and I'm working on those as we go. Different universes, so it's really easy to work on 3 different stories at the same time.
Oh, wow. That's so awesome. See, I learn something new every day, guys. Now, Joe, you've been investigating the paranormal for 30-some years. What brought you into the paranormal? I know that's such a generic question, but I like to ask.
My grandmother got me started. My dad's mom got me started because we used to hang out together all the time, and we would talk about ghosts, and we talk about reincarnation, and we talk about all the things. We used to go exploring all over in Southwest Colorado when I was a kid. We'd go down to the canyons, up to the caves. We'd go every place, just go exploring and things like that. And all this talk about paranormal and aliens and all of that just got me really interested. So I remained interested for a very long time. I joined the Navy, and I had never really done a paranormal investigation until I was in the Navy, and I was stationed over in Gaeta, Italy. And a friend of mine, an Italian friend of mine, who's one of the state police guys over there, he said, "Hey, I asked him if he thought that building across the way was haunted." He says, "Oh, you like ghosts?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, come with us." So I went with him, and that was my very first paranormal investigation. And I really loved it. It's just a Friday night, go out, run around with these folks in our old cassette recorders and film cameras. And we did a small castle that was just north of the city that I lived in. And it was kind of interesting because he just walked up, flashed his badge, and we were in the place. That was it. We were investigating. And then we all said thanks and left after that. So we didn't catch anything, but I was hooked. And that's all there was to it. Any place I go, I've investigated in Scotland, Northern Ireland, England, France, Spain, Italy, a couple other places over there. It's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it.
See, we've talked about this, and I'm jealous as hell, you know that, but I think that's awesome. Not many people get to experience that, especially, I mean, I know you being in the military gave you a little, more broad and open space there to move around and be able to go to some of these locations. So that's really awesome. I think it's like extremely vital for as parents or grandparents to keep our children's minds very open. So kudos to your grandmother. That's so cool. I love it.
That was great. We had a great time doing all sorts of stuff. We made a deal that whoever passed first was going to come back and let the other one know what happened. Well, she was in a car wreck in 2003 and passed then. But I was on my way to Ecuador to set up a computer system. That Sunday, she died on a Friday, and I had to be on the plane on Sunday. So I said, Dad, I've got to go. I've got to go to work. I got to do this. He goes, go ahead. No problem. When you come back, just come on over, and we'll all be here. So I did that. I came back a week later, came home again, got doing my thing, and I went outside to smoke a cigarette when I was smoking still, and the backyard was flooded. I said, what the heck? So I turned off the water, swept the water out down the driveway, from the back patio and everything. Then it was the next night I went out to have another smoke. I was sitting there doing homework and all that, and the backyard was flooded again. So I put the hose in the raised flower bed in the backyard and swept some water out, went back about my business. The next night it was flooded again. The flower bed was flooded and overflowing. And it's like, oh, hey, Grandma, if that's you, I get the picture. I got it. And it never flooded again after that. So I'm sure that was her telling me that she was there, something that would catch my attention. She'd probably been trying to tell me many times before, but I just never caught on until that feat happened.
Right, yeah, because we're so blinded when it comes to stuff like that, But I mean, it takes a while, but I think it's so awesome. It sounds like you guys had like really cool adventures together.
Oh, we did. We had a great time.
Yeah, and I don't know, I just love it because as a mom, I like to keep my boys' minds very open, and as everybody should do, but that's not the way it works out all the time. So, when did you form your paranormal team?
Oh, I've had a couple of them on and off. This one's been formed for about 4 years now. I've got most of it was just Tim and I for about 4 years. Last fall, I guess, we started bringing some more people in. We've got Zach and Kathy and Christy, Tim, Mel is in there. Kevin is in there. Am I forgetting anybody? I don't think so. But it's a great group of people. We've got a medium, we've got an empath, we've got a historian researcher, and she goes out. Kathy, our researcher, goes out and does an amazing job researching every place that we're going to go. But she doesn't tell us anything really, except the very basics. Here's where we're going. And she really doesn't talk about much, but she's got all the information right there. So we'll go in, our medium will go in cold. She'll walk in the place, get her vibes and whatever she's picking up as she goes. Then the rest of us will start going in and setting up equipment as we need to go. The empath will walk around, see what she's picking up. Once we get all the equipment set up and we're ready to go, we'll all go through. I had a heart transplant a couple of years ago. So during that time, I died a few times, et cetera, and when my heart was, blowing up.
Et cetera, everyday things, everyday things.
But the folks at the hospital put me back together, gave me another heart. And so after that, I started sensing things a little bit more than I had before. I was, if it was a really strong impression or a really strong something, I could pick it up before. Now it's not, It doesn't have to be as strong. I can tell you what direction the energy is coming from, a few things like that. But we'll go out and I'll walk around and start picking up on things. And I love my dowsing rods and I love some of our equipments that we've got. The dowsing rods, I'll go in and I'll start trying to figure out who's in there, male, female, where are you standing?
Right.
Things like that. Saturday night, we ran across a man and a woman. They were separated by about 25 feet. One, we figured out his name was Guillermo, and her name was Lucy or Lucinda. And they loved each other, but Guillermo was married and had kids. So this was back in the 1890s. And they just could never do anything. She died of something. I want to say tuberculosis. She died of
Mhm.
that. I believe it was consumption. And then he went on, and then he died a few years later. But they put, we wanted to get the two of them together and have them just cross over instead of being there stuck in that building. So
Right.
Guillermo couldn't move out of his spot. He couldn't go over there, and she couldn't come in. Guillermo could go anywhere else, but he couldn't go over near where she was. So we formed a chain of all the investigators. We're holding hands, and we basically had Guillermo walk along us to get over there to where she was, using our energy to get there. And everybody was like, "Oh my God, oh, that's cool," because we were feeling a breeze and feeling the energy going by us as they did. Finally, Christy goes and says, "He's over here. It's fine." So we crossed the two of them over, and they left, and that was really the end of what we were doing in that building. It was really a lot of fun. I had a great time doing it. And if you can help somebody cross over, that's what we need to do, right?
Right, absolutely. It's funny how you talk about that because with some of my healing sessions and things like that, it's, I don't know what you believe on this, but for me and my work, we've talked about this before, but when we talk about crossing over, can you go deeper into that for me and give me your view on what crossing over means to you?
Certainly. For me and some on my team and a few others that I've run across in the world, we all kind of have the same idea. They're here, they're stuck, they don't know what to do, they don't know how to get out of here, basically. That's what I think. Or they don't want to get out of here. Okay, they've got something holding them here. Either another spirit that's stronger keeping them here, or something that they need to do or say, get off their chest, tell somebody their story, whatever. And then once we can hear their story, once we can figure out what they're doing, we'll set it up and say, okay, you're ready to go. And we'll get on the dowsing rods. A lot of times I'll get a cross. Yes, they'll cross. And then we'll go. And the bright light to me is a silly thing to me. It's very cliche. Follow the light, because none of them, as far as I can tell, have ever seen a light. So, but I'll have them turn around, talk to them a bit, and have them turn in a direction that is the happier of all the other directions. That 1 degree out of the 360 that's happier and makes them feel best, and start walking off in that direction, head that direction, because that's the direction that their friends, family, everything is. And
Right.
eventually they'll be gone. Sometimes we hear a pop. Sometimes the whole room changes. The whole energy in the room will change. Uh, we had a girl on a case in East LA, residential case. I'm not mentioning any names, of course, but
Right.
this girl had been grabbed by a family friend, and she was between 9 and 12, and she was sexually assaulted and stabbed. And she was in this house for about 60 years. And everybody that has lived in that house felt this angst, this anger, this pain. It wasn't like a physical thing, but it was dragging everybody down emotionally. And everybody
Right.
was angry all the time, things like that. So we got the empath up there in the house, and we walked upstairs. Zach was there, Tim was there, and I was there, and the empath. The client was downstairs. And we get up there, and the empath goes, uh, I feel something, and she just doubles over. She feels the death state that this girl is in, and she still is feeling the knife in her ribs. So we start talking to her. This girl had to tell her story, so she gets the story told, passes it on to us, and then we start with the "Are you ready to go?" And
Right.
we put her in the right direction. She moves on. There's a pop in the house, and the client goes, "What did you do? It's so different in here." And it just immediately cleared the whole place up. It was really very nice. And the empath, all
Right.
the pain went away and everything was fine then.
Yeah.
It was
You
a
know,
really good experience. But we do that because we don't believe they need to be here. They should be where they need to be. Heaven, hell, the
right.
other place, whatever you believe in, whatever they believe in, that's where they should be.
Right, absolutely. I agree with you on that, Joe. And as far as crossing spirits over, I know for me and the experiences that I've had, and sometimes it's just the most minor of things. And crossing over to me, I guess takes on different meanings for different situations. Because I do feel like spiritual energy is stuck here sometimes, whether it be because they do need to move on from something that we are supposed to be helping them with, or
Right.
this is the thing with crossing over. It's in my study and my practice that I've worked with, that crossing over doesn't necessarily mean that they're crossed over and you'll never communicate with them again. Um,
Exactly.
Crossing them over is crossing them over kind of that plane. So they're
Right.
stuck on one plane, but we're crossing them over to another plane to where they can be happy and do what they need to do, but they can also come down to the etheric, and I'm getting a little deep there, but you know what I'm talking
No,
about, Joe, right?
I agree. I agree with you because I know that my grandmother passed. I know she crossed over. She did her thing after she came back, and either before or after she was doing the water thing in the backyard.
Yeah.
So I don't know when, but I know she did it. And this was, you know, 6 months or so after she had passed that this
Yeah.
happened. So I agree that they can come back and go back and forth, but at least you're releasing them, giving them that option to go to the next plane of existence or wherever they're going. Then they can come back if they want to say hi. Because I know she showed up, grandma showed up every once in a while at my old house. She would
Right.
show up and sit there and watch my son. I adopted my son 8 years ago. And she never got a chance to know him because he was born the year she died. So she sits there and she would watch my son playing his video games and doing whatever it is that he was doing at the time, watching TV or whatever. And then she'd be here for a couple of weeks and then leave. She would go visit my brothers or my dad or mom or whoever and go around. And then she'd leave for a while and go adventure some more. At least I'd like to think she was out adventuring some more.
Joe, I don't know if you're open to it or not, but I love your story about your son. Can you tell the story about how your adoption of your son come about?
Oh, that how I started the whole process.
Yeah.
That's I was having these dreams. This was 10 years ago. I started having these dreams, and they were just my normal dream that I would have. But every once in a while, this little blonde kid would walk in front of me. I could never see his face, but I could see he had blonde hair, and he was wearing a blue short sleeve T-shirt and blue jean shorts and flip flops. And he would walk in front of me, and just like he was leading me along a little bit, and then he would go and just step out of the dream, and that would be fine. But it became more and more and more prevalent in these dreams. I would see this kid all the time, and it became more and more. Almost every dream there toward when I made my decision, I said this has got to be some sort of a message. So I said, okay, let me check into fostering and that kind of stuff out here in California. I know it would be pretty difficult. I'm a single guy, and here I am wanting to foster and then possibly adopt a kid. So I went through all the lessons and things like that. And I was sitting here looking at the web page of the kids available. And one day during work, when I should have been working, but I was looking at web pages anyway. And I see this one kid named Elliot. And I said, huh. And I said, hey, Sean, my buddy. He comes over and he looks and he goes, that's your kid right there. And I said, really? And he goes, I said, I still have another year or so before I'm even done with my classes. He goes, nope, that's your kid. I said, okay. So we're sitting here talking, and he goes back to business, and I'm doing all this. I finished my courses, and they call me up, and they offer me two boys, two brothers that were 3 and 5 years old. Now, I was living in Palm Springs at the time and working 50 miles away, so it was a 100-mile round trip every day. And I started thinking about it. Who could I ask to take care of the kids during the day while I'm working? And
Right.
I just couldn't find it. Logistically, I would have loved to have done that, but logistically, I couldn't do it. It just wouldn't work.
Right.
So I turned those poor kids down. I'm sure they've got wonderful homes now. They seem like a great pair of kids. And about a week and a half later, they called me up and said, we've got this blonde kid. He, he needs a single dad. He needs a very strong male image because he's had I would be his 21st placement in 4 years. So he'd
Wow.
been shuffled around a lot, had some bad experiences in the foster care system, things like that. And I said, well, let me hear what you got to say. So I go down there and they told me about some of the issues that he's had and how he needs to be restrained at times because he's just throwing fits and horrible, horrible things going on in his life. And I said, I'll take him. Really? You
Wow.
will? Yeah, I will. So they showed me a picture of him. And here he is, this little blonde kid with a blue T-shirt, blue jean shorts, and flip-flops. And I thought, oh my God. The social worker I was working with at the time looked at the picture and she's like, oh, there's just no way. And it was like perfect. And we were just freaking out over that. And then he's been with me ever since.
No.
So, and
He's doing really good too, by the way, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a wonderful kid. It took a long time
See,
work to get him over the anger and stuff, but oh boy, it's working great now, and we get along really well. He just turned 15, so he's going to start learning to drive here pretty quick.
see, my oldest is 15. But real quick, guys, I'm Facebook Live. Sorry I haven't talked to you, but my live actually started working, Joe. I'm actually live on YouTube. So if you guys want to watch the video, come into chat, ask questions here. That's cool. I'm live with Joe Thompson. He's an awesome feller over there in California, eh? And he was just telling the story of he was just telling the story of how he adopted his son, which is a beautiful story, guys. So if you have questions for Joe, we're going to go deeper down the rabbit hole here. So if you have questions, don't be afraid to post and come on over to YouTube and watch us live because you can see our beautiful faces, right, Joe?
Sure, I'll scare them all.
All right, so I want to get a little deeper down the rabbit hole because something that me and Joe kind of clicked on, and we had never met in person, and then we did in Salem, and it was like immediate, like energy. Like I could feel his energy. Like he's a very strong individual, energy wise. So me and him like stood and talked for hours while the girls were shopping, and I'm like, I'll just sit here and talk because it's so much better than going shopping. So we had some awesome conversations about going into more of the deeper, darker things of the paranormal, which everybody knows is demonic entities or negative energy is what I like to call it. So, me and him got to kind of talk about it and how compare things. So it's funny how, two people can come together. You flew in, didn't you? You flew to Salem.
Yeah, my broom.
Lucky ass, because I drove 13 hours. But anyway, I think it's really cool to have this conversation because it's brought up a lot, and I hate to hear. I don't want to call it misinformation, but it is really because I don't think some people fully understand, so they assume on negative energy, and when we talk about demonic entities and things like that. So Joe, let's talk about that. What's your view on what people call demonic entities?
Okay, in my opinion, and I know some of the people I work with an order of exorcists, I know that they're going to sit here and shake their head and go, oh my God, he's talking again. But I'm not Catholic, okay, and which is not an issue. I love Catholics. I love everybody. Believe what you want to believe in, But I've experienced a lot of things, and I cannot say that every negative entity that I've ever run across is demonic. Okay? If you're a mean person in life, chances are, in my opinion, you're going to be a mean person in death as well.
Right.
You can pick people. You can cause all sorts of hate and discontent in the afterlife if you're that type of a person. I've run across one actual possession in all my time of doing this. One actual possession that I would consider definitely a possession. And I've run across 2 demonic infestations in all this time.
Right.
I've run across a lot of not nice spirits. Ran across a bunch of really good spirits. I'm not saying everything's bad, of course, But there have been a few that are not nice, that throw rocks at you, that scratch you, push you, shove you down the stairs, you know, whatever they can do to cause you anger issues, cause you to be hurt, fall down, you know, get you out of where they're at. They want the place by themselves. So there are demons. I don't doubt that in the least little bit, but I do not look at everything with a black and white angels or demons color. Right. It's got to be, there's angels, there's ghosts, there's demons, there's other never been human entities before, like demons are. But we've got, you know, we've got this entity that we keep running across out here. I don't know if it's the same one. I don't think it is, but it's the same type class. It's a humanoid shape, but it has these weird pointy dog-like ears all over their head. And that's what a few people have seen them and described them to me as. Never seen one myself, but we just call them pointy ears for short. You know, that's what we call them. We have to get them out of there, and we get them out of there with holy water and prayers and things like that. Though I don't believe they're demonic. I just think they're a nuisance. Okay? Right. But that's how we get rid of them. Right. Go ahead.
You go ahead. You go ahead, because I'm going to run my mouth.
Oh, well, that's fine, because we're supposed to be a talk back and forth thing here, right?
Yeah, so, but you know how I get.
Well, yeah, I know. I could do the same thing, too. But in my opinion, not everything is a demon. Not everything is an angel. And just like I said, you know, we crossed over those two people in that business the other night. Neither one were demons, neither one were angels. They were just people who were stuck there. Yeah. We run across that a whole lot more than anything else.
Right. Absolutely. And you know what? And this is something, I mean, of course, again, me and Joe have talked about this subject, and people who are around me usually know how I feel about it, but I'm a big believer in higher and lower. The higher the vibration, the beautiful, you know, the more prettier it is. The higher vibration, the better it is. The lower vibration doesn't necessarily mean that it's negative, but the lower that you get as far as negative vibrations goes, then the uglier it gets. So when we go back to our vibe attracts our other people's energies or entities' energies, it's so very true. There's so much to talk about in the subject. When we talk about angels and demons, to me, it's more of a religious thing. It's what we gave names to. So what it is positive energy and negative energy.
How you grew up.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Just that. You grew up learning that everything is angels and demons. That's how you think. And that's perfectly fine. I grew up knowing there's a lot more out there than just angels and demons.
Right. You know? Absolutely.
And nobody's wrong. It's just how you believe.
Yeah, absolutely.
That to me is beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful. But I think that sometimes, to me personally, the way that I feel about it is that it gets so misconstrued. People take it and they run with it. They put a meaning to it themselves. So, you know, when we talk about positive energy and we talk about the negative energy, putting faces to things, that makes it even worse in my eyes when we give things names as far as negative energy goes, because when we start doing that, we actually give it a form. We give it a personality. We give it that energy. We feed into negativity like that. So what we end up doing is creating something and feeding into something that shouldn't be as bad as it originally would have been. That makes sense.
Right. Exactly. It's once again, it's how you were raised. Not saying it was wrong, not saying it's right. It's how you were raised, and that's what you know. And very little will change your mind. No, there are some people that I talk to that are devout Catholics. They don't believe in ghosts. They don't believe in any of that. They're demons. That's all there is.
Yeah.
And that's really fine. And I love the conversations we have about that. You know, it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun because, you know what? I've heard this before, and it's killed my soul because, you know, I've been doing podcasting for some time now, and I've come across different views. For instance, and I tell this story to everybody. I had a girl say she was under spiritual warfare. Why are you under spiritual warfare, and who are you under spiritual warfare with? And, you know, she went on to tell me all this stuff. And I'm like, well, do you protect yourself? Do you shield yourself? Well, I don't do that. I'm a Christian. I said, it has nothing to do with your religion. That's the problem, is people can't separate the spirituality from the religion. Your religion is way different than the spirituality. And then it kills me how people are not educated on what the difference is.
You need to ground yourself.
Yeah.
You need a balance. You need to do all that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm
sitting energy.
Yeah, you're sitting here telling me that you're a medium and you don't ground yourself, you don't protect yourself, you don't shield yourself. Well, no wonder you're under spiritual warfare that you think you're under. But it's just, I mean, I wish people would educate themselves better, especially if you're going to be open and leave yourself open psychically, because what it leads up to is attacks. It leads up to infestations, and not so much of demonic entities, but, you know, of everything, because you end up being this big lot, a source to spirits to come to. So, you know, I explained that to her, but sometimes you can talk till you're blue to people, in the face to people, and they don't want to hear it because they can't get their head out of their ass. Sorry.
There's also the group of people who, and this, I'm not judging anybody at all, but I've run across this many times, even just recently in about 3 cases that I'm running right now, where their life is surrounded by negativity. The people that they're with are all negative. Their habits are negative. Things like that. And then they wonder why they're now surrounded by all of this negative stuff going on. Why their life is spiraling downhill. Well, because you're surrounded by it. And what else are you going to have to do?
Right. Absolutely.
So it's like, you know, people have a bad habit that they continue to do. And all that's going to do is drag that negativity in. It's going to make them lose control. Yep. And there you go. I don't want to get into any of the habits or anything like that, because like I said, I'm not judging. I'm just...
No. It's not about judging. It's not about judging. That's not what this is about. However, I'm a no-filter person. So if you ask for my advice, or if you come to me wanting help, I'm like, no filter. This is what it is. Okay, for instance, I had someone come to me and they was talking about all the stuff that was happening to them, and immediately I started picking up information from them. I said, well, first of all, you need to get off the drugs that you're on. No offense to anybody out there. I'm not judging anybody. However, it does make you open a sitting duck for negative energy and for it to attach to you. And it doesn't get prettier from there, because what happens is they feed off that energy and you end up being oppressed. So these are people that eventually down the road, if they don't seek help and they don't make themselves better, that we have to address. We have to go in and help these people. But this is the thing, and this is where the no bullshit clause come in, because I'm like, listen, I'll help you. However, if you don't help yourself, if you don't take care of yourself spiritually, physically and emotionally, then what I do, the work that I put in, the energy that I have and put into this is not going to do any good, because you are not, it's like having surgery and then saying, okay, well, we're not going to sew that shit up. We're just going to let you walk out of the hospital, you know, a big open wound. And it's exactly what it is when you're working with things like that.
Yep, exactly. I've got a case that this lady is surrounded by not so nice people.
Mm-hmm.
They treat her badly. They're talking about getting married, one of them and her. And I'm like, don't walk away from it. Go find other people. Go find a much better life for yourself. But she keeps going back. And it's like, I'm sorry. You know, I can only do so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Them are the type of people that will drain you, and you feel sorry for them and you want to help them, but you can't. You got to want to help yourself in the situations.
Once it's cleared, once everything's taken care of, you get, the most of it out of there. Just like a house, going in and doing a house blessing, you get most of it out of there, and you can even seal the place up. But if they go in there and start talking and, being their normal, what they used to be, the same exact thing, all they're going to do is drag it all right back in again.
Right, absolutely.
It takes a lot of energy to clear a house properly.
God, yeah. And it's just not one person. People think you can just walk in and I can go in and I can clear a house. Don't get me wrong. But again, you have to work with me here. I mean, if you're wanting change, you have to really be that change as well. Because it's not one sided. It's not that this person comes in and they're going to get rid of everything. Well, guess what? If you keep your shit up, it's just going to be something else. It's always going to be something else coming in there. And what we put out, is definitely coming back to us. And right now, I just want to give a shout out to everybody. Again, we are live with Joe Thompson tonight from out in California. He's an awesome guy. We're talking about, right now we're covering demonic entities and talking about negative energy, things like that. I've got Sandra over on YouTube chat and Josh Bender, Chris Hughes. I want to give a shout out to you guys. And I'm not ignoring anybody on Facebook Live, but if you got questions, shoot them to us because me and Joe would be happy to answer them and answer any questions you might have for Joe. So, yeah, I love talking about it. It's a very passionate subject of mine, and me and Joe hit that off very quickly up in Salem.
We had, wasn't I doing a Facebook Live at the Witch House?
Yeah.
Broke in and said, "Hey, bring me on," and you guys were like 15 blocks away having breakfast. Come on down. I raced along and we down there and met you all. But that was an excellent time. They're going to do another one this next year, right? Have you heard about that?
Yes, yeah, I did. And I heard that the Southern Gypsies are going to be there.
Really? I know there's one in New Orleans in November, and I'm thinking about going down there. And I think it's November 9, 10, 11, and it's a benefit charity, raising money charity type thing for the police department in District 8.
Oh, that's cool. Listen, Joe.
Listen. I go down there because I love New Orleans anyway.
I've never been, but I'm going in March.
Yeah.
I'm going in March.
Are you in March?
Yeah. Okay, so Amy Green, I know she's watching or was watching earlier. She lives down in New Orleans, and she helps with Bloody Mary. Bloody Mary is a high priestess down there, and we're actually going to be part of her event down there in March the 9th. So I'm excited about it.
I thought I saw that advertised. I thought I saw her doing something on YouTube or Facebook about her event coming up. So I may have to look into that. That's kind of fun.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They're doing one at Lake Tahoe here in the next maybe a month and a half or so. I'll have to look it up again. But look up Lake Tahoe. It's, I think, one of the biggest paranormal conventions on the West Coast. So I'm kind of thinking about maybe driving up there and taking a look.
Awesome. See, I want to make my way out there to California.
Also, David Oman. You know David Oman from the house up on Cielo Drive? He's doing August 4th and 5th. Coming up is the 49th anniversary of the Manson murders, where Sharon Tate was killed and the others.
Oh, and,
yeah. He's up there, and they're doing Friday, Saturday night, the 4th and 5th. Go to theomanhouse.com, and you can get tickets and stuff. I think he's doing barbecue dinner and an investigation till 3, from 7 till 3 up there. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy going up to David's house. I have a really good time up there. That's great. Great stuff.
Oh, that sounds like a really good time. That's really cool. But yeah, going back on the subject. Listen, if you guys have any questions, if you want to talk about a certain subject, hit us. Me and Joe's got you. Back on the subject. I don't know. Where do you want to go with it? Do you have anything to add with the, when we was covering demonic entities, things like that? I think it's pretty much.
Just be careful. Just be careful. Don't be doing stupid things. Like we had clients at one time who were doing EVP sessions all the time, 24 hours a day, all the time.
Yes.
And they got out there doing this stuff, and pretty soon, well, I'm your guardian angel. You don't need those recorders anymore. I'll talk to you direct. That kind of stuff. It got to be where they were thinking that it was relative that they were talking to, until they finally went, no, because they don't know what my relatives would have known. And so we went up, tried to clean that place up too, referred them off to her an exorcism. So just to get the place cleaned up and get them cleaned up. So,
Yeah.
you know, just be careful. You know, I use dowsing rods a lot, and that is a communication device. But I
Right.
know how to close them. I know how
Yeah.
to stop.
Mm-hmm.
It's that, just like Ouija boards, any of that kind of stuff, EVP recorders, all of that is a way of communication with the
Yep.
spirits.
You got
And
it.
if you're not closing it off and, clearing up the area, cleaning up the situation, closing that portal, that doorway that can't open, then you're going to wind up having all sorts of stuff coming in and bothering you. Or the potential is there to drag that
Right.
stuff.
Absolutely. Yes. And I've had people that do the same thing with audio recorder. Same damn thing. And I'm like, why are you doing that? I have at one time I was, I was like, no, we ain't gonna do the Ouija board ever again. But that was before now. I know so much more and I've grown spiritually so much more and I know I can handle it. It's not my tool of use, but I can say that I can confidently go in with a Ouija board and I will go in and do divination with it. But know what you're doing because it's not a toy. I mean, it's really not. Although they try to make it out to like it is, like it's not real. Then you could play with the Ouija board for months, even a year or years before something actually happens.
Right. And
You know,
may happen. That's
yeah.
the thing. It all depends on how you're using it, what's going on. How about the word intent? What is your intent?
Yes.
Intent is everything.
Absolutely.
Works.
Yes. See, intent goes, that's a word in itself, okay? Because when we talk about intent, intent of prayer, intent of protection, intent of, what we're putting out in the universe. So, and that's something actually that gosh, you got me all rolled up here, Joe. I'm talking about my book coming up because intent has so much to do with everything when it comes to energy work, when it comes to protection, when it comes to everything.
Blessing a house.
Yes.
Anything that you're doing, it's all based on intent. What you intend to do, and there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. And people want to, it's so much more than just physical. People want to see results physically. And intent is so much more than, obviously it's something that you cannot see, but you can feel. And you have to be open to feeling that and open to receiving that. And if you're not open to that, then what's the use of even trying to put it out there? And by that I mean, if I was to go out here tomorrow and my belief was, and I always do it, I don't know why I always do a frog, but if my belief was that this frog was like God, this frog was my protection, and I put my full intent into that, guess what? That's what's going to protect me.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I've actually got a question here. You have said, address this feeling I feel around me. What do you say? Can you ask if it's a good or bad spirit? Okay, we can address that later. Right now I'm talking to Joe, so just PM me and we'll talk about that later. Sorry, guys. But anyway, moving on from that, I do have a question for you because I am very curious. You were in the Navy, right?
I was. Almost 11 years.
So, did you ever experience anything weird out? I mean, yeah.
Out at sea?
Yeah.
I didn't, and it was probably because I wasn't looking.
Right.
When I was on the ship, that's where you're living, right? And
yeah.
Though I mind having spirits around, and I don't have any problems with it, for the most part. But that's where you lived, and you slept sometimes for weeks and months on end. And I did have some creepy feelings at times, especially my first ship. That was the USS Belknap, CG-26. It was the flagship of the Sixth Fleet. So we were in the Mediterranean, sailing around. That's where we hung out. We were in France and Spain, and all over the place there. And the Belknap in 1975 had a collision with the John F. Kennedy, And it was during a refueling at sea, or right after refueling at sea. And the two ships collided, started a fire, and the Belknap burned almost all the way down to the waterline. 7 sailors were killed on board. So after a few years, they came back in. They got the Belknap all cleaned back up again. They built her back up again and put her into service as a flagship. And that's shortly after that, they put her in the Mediterranean, and I showed up about a year later. There were times when you could feel something there, but those are my shipmates. Those are Navy people with me. You want them to have the best. You want them to be where they need to be, etc.
Right.
So I didn't really look for anything on the ship or at Fleet Training Center. You'd feel somebody, when I was in Norfolk, you would feel somebody walking in the hallway by you, or past your classroom, or through your classroom. You'd feel it, but it's like, okay, hey, shipmate, have a good time, that kind of thing. It was kind of just pass it on. And I would rather have my military brethren out there and brothers and sisters out there being where they need to be than to do it. I won't really do an investigation I love cemeteries. And I'll go wandering around a national cemetery, but I won't take any equipment with me generally, to a national cemetery, because I'd rather them be where they need to be.
Yeah. Bill over here on live, Bill Davis, he said, yeah, don't shit where you eat. I actually say that too.
Yeah, I do that. I don't investigate at my house. If I feel something, or I run across something, or I hear something, great. I'll have a conversation, but I won't start an investigation here.
Right. And then, that's another good topic to bring up, Joe, is as a paranormal investigator, previous paranormal investigator, something that I found, especially, it's because of who I am and what I've become. And by that I mean, I'm just, really being in tune with my psychic mediumship. I found that, it's not necessary to always do an investigation. That sometimes, especially if you have someone with you that is more in tune, sometimes it's easiest talking to the person or the client about what's going on and kind of getting information that way. And, sometimes that's the easiest way, but I know other times that you do have to go and physically investigate. And I've been there and I've done that, but it's really cool because I know at my home, I don't investigate when something happens. Like the night before last, I woke up and I was having one of my out-of-body experiences. I just popped up out of bed, and I knew what was going on, of course, but for people who never experienced that, if they had that experience, they would be freaked out, and you would probably most likely, especially if you weren't very well educated on that subject, have to go out and say, okay, we need to find out what's going on. And it's cool to have that validation, especially for clients, because I think that's what they yearn for, is to have that validation to say, I'm not crazy, I promise, when we're the ones out there looking for ghosts.
Right. Exactly. And like with the Navy, when we were on shore, when we were on Liberty and running around places, I'd look for them all over the place. I'd investigate. I wouldn't always have equipment with me, but I had my camera with me all the time. And sometimes but the cassette players back in the late 80s were kind of big. You didn't have all these nice little digital ones that were easily handled, So I didn't want to carry all that stuff with me, but I would take my camera and I'd take pictures of everything that I thought put off some creepy vibe or whatever, I'd see if I could capture anything there. We'd go into old buildings and walk around. I just didn't do it on the ship, didn't do it in where I work, things like that. Just didn't do it. The building I work in right now is haunted. I mean, I hear noises. I hear people typing when there's nobody in there. I hear stuff going on in that place all the time. And so do others. But, like the sensors, the movement sensors in the hallways, you'll have them all go off like at 2:00 in the morning, and it's all on camera. We'll see them pop on one after the other. And, somebody's out there walking around, but nobody's on camera. Things like that. It's just really kind of neat. I'm not going to investigate there. Why?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way about that. I think, especially when I know you've been in it for a long time, and what prevents you from getting, I guess, wore out on it, or just tired of investigating?
None of the cases are exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
And none of the places that we go are exactly the same.
Right.
RJ Murphy from Murphy Paranormal up in Bullhead City, he and I are pretty good friends, and we sit back and we do investigations together a lot because they've got a great team, and they find places out in the desert that are really cool to go to. And then they'll come down and they'll help me with some of our public events and things like that down here in Southern California that we do around Halloween and sometimes in the springtime. So we all get together really well. I know Murph would agree with me that there's a few places that we've been up there together that are just awesome places. I got to stay up at Horse Thief Springs in California. I was up there 6.5 hours before anybody else got there, all alone in this canyon by myself at a haunted cabin. And I set up all my equipment, and I'm just loving every minute of it. It was hot. I'll go jump in my truck every once in a while, turn on the AC for a bit, and get some water, maybe eat something, and then I get back out and go for it again. And finally, they all showed up, and we spent the whole evening investigating.
That's
absolutely
so
fantastic place.
That's
little
awesome.
town Nipton, up by state line between Searchlight and Prem, Nevada. It's a little town up there, and it was just bought off by a company. But there's some really haunted stuff there. Those two places are completely different with history, completely different with what you find. And even down here in Southern California or even in Arizona, places that we go to investigate are all totally different.
Yeah.
And it just keeps me coming back. And you'll get a great Class A EVP, or you'll see something, or something will touch you or push you, and you're like, okay, I'm coming back for the next one. That's all there is to it.
It gets your blood going.
Oh, do that one good golf swing after you've broken most of your clubs that day, and I'm coming back. That's all there is to it.
Bill Davis is on our Facebook Live, and he said he was in the Air Force. So, by the way, thank you guys for your service. We had a haunted plane. He said, tail number 3130. Whenever I had to do anything inside it, I always took a buddy and got in and got the hell out of there. That's funny. I do actually have another subject for you, and because when you talk about going to different locations and they're all different, and of course we know that, how do you feel about portals, and how do you feel about how the ley lines and everything correlate with some of these things? Because I've heard of people's experiences where they're experiencing things such as pterodactyls, things that they shouldn't be seeing, of maybe the past, maybe creatures that that don't even exist technically. So what's your view on portals?
I've run across portals a few times. We've closed them up. We've done other things with it. In fact, a couple of weekends ago over in a little town by LA, this guy had a portal under his bed, and he would sit back and he would be kicked at nighttime and things like that. We went in, closed that portal up, just a thin layer of holy water and some prayers and stuff, close that thing up. He says it hasn't come back yet, and he's been able to sleep. So that took care of it. Now, I've never been lucky to see a pterodactyl yet. I'm looking forward to doing that. That would be wonderful. Anything else like that. But I do believe portals exist. And
Absolutely.
Doorways between dimensions or places. We've had one place that we went to that had 3 portals in one room. And we wiped out 2 of them, didn't realize the other one was there. They were pretty strong. And the third one wasn't nearly as strong. So we thought we'd wiped them all out. We had to make a return trip, go back in and close out that final portal. And that cleared up a lot of the problems that they had in that building. Just like the case this couple of weeks ago in LA area, solved the problems that he was having with sleeping in his room, but it didn't solve the rest of the problems in the house. So I've got to go back and do another really good cleansing of the house and see what we could do. I've asked the church to go in and actually do a blessing on the house for him. It's supposed to happen on Friday. So they're, a couple of hours away for me. So if I can get the church to go in and do a nice blessing for him, clear that out, that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I do have a question for you from Sandra. She is in our YouTube feed here. She says, can you physically see portals?
I can't physically see them, but I can feel them. To me, it feels like a buzz, like an electrical buzz, and I can't put my hands through them or anything like that, but I can feel the buzz. So I'll go in and I'll try to close it as best I possibly can with what I can feel. And then I'll have Christy come in, our medium, have her come in and tell me what she can see. If she sees anything there anymore, and then we'll go in and close it back up where she sees things. And that generally would do a really good closing. Sometimes we work together to close the portal because it's too strong for me or her to do ourselves.
Right.
So we'll work together, and she uses a lot of light energy and things like that, and I use prayer and holy water and my energy to try to close that thing down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do it together.
Yeah, we actually have a portal at the Nickerson Sneed, and everybody keeps saying, or some people would say it's in a different location of the house. I was like, fuck no, it ain't. I know where the hell it is, because guess what? We have an elemental that guards that thing. So it's not all portals are bad things. So when you guys hear portals, it's not necessarily always a bad thing. However, it causes a lot. It can wreak havoc. And I don't know if these are, I don't know what you feel about it, Joe, but for me, what I've dealt with is these are almost, think of it, when people say thinning of the veil, well, guess what? These are thinnings of the veil, but the veils are dimensions. So that's what when we say anyway, when we say the thinning of the veil, that's the thinning of the dimensions. So it's easier for these beings or entities to cross over, even spirits. So it's like, that's why some of these locations will have different types of interactions. For instance, Bobby Mackey's. When I went there, Wanda Kay she's passed away now, so she's dearly missed. But anyway, they would talk about seeing camels, like all kinds of different kind of messed up entities. You're thinking, okay, these people are on crack, but it makes sense, because if they're on the right kind of geological forms and you put that into factor and you put the spiritual into factor, then you have the sweet spot for this opening of different dimensions. Now, when I talk about different dimensions, there are higher and lower planes. And I've seen the lower planes from having out-of-body experiences, and not everything's beautiful down there. It's different, and it's things that we've seen on, like, paranormal movies or scary movies that are not supposed to exist. And then, how in the hell does they know how to put some of these things into movies because you've seen some of it? It makes you think that these people know and they've experienced the same thing that you have, that they've created these kinds of characters, but... yeah, even the same thing in some of the video games.
Exactly. I mean, I absolutely believe in portals, and I believe they're a doorway between one place and another, hence a portal. And they, you could have this one poor guy that I know of had a portal in his house, and his house felt like it was full of people all the time.
Yeah.
Noisy. Central Station, basically.
Yeah. Well, I know.
We closed it all down. We closed them all down and tried to get everything all cleaned up for him. There's still remnants of what's going on over there. We'll have to go back over and clean up again. But we'll have to maybe 2 or 3 or 4 times. But close it down. But I walked into that place, and it was like my shoulders are all hunched together, and it's just the guy and me and Christy and her son in the room, and that was it. And I felt like I was surrounded by people. So, and there wasn't anybody there but the 4 of us. So when we got that place cleared up, got everything, shunted out the door and out the way and closed up, it felt a whole lot better, and the poor guy could get some sleep.
Absolutely. And you know what? As people who are more of energy workers and light workers, you just know. It's weird because when people ask me, you can feel it. But people's asked me, is like, how did you know? Like, how do you know to do this stuff? To be honest with you, it's spirit, and to me, or God, or whoever you want to call it, it's spirit for me. But I'm very spirit led. I had no idea what the hell I was doing, but I knew it was like working. I knew.
It worked, and that's the whole thing. You're helped along with what you need to do.
Absolutely, you're guided, and that's the beautiful thing about it. But going back to the portals, for these people or these locations, like especially the bigger locations, where they're getting different types of spirits all the time, constantly, and there's always something new. Like the Nickerson Sneed, for instance, there's a portal there. We're always having normal spirits, the original spirits, but there's always something passing through there. And we know the portal's there, and we know there's an elemental there. And it's just, I don't know, it's something to, I think that as investigators that we need to look deeper into. When we want the physical evidence, I understand that. But however, you have to dive into the spiritual side of the paranormal to understand what the physical is. It's the physical plane. You know, it's one plane that you obviously have just a matter of certain experiences from. You have to have a crossing over of the other dimensions before you can actually physically experience something, right?
Right. You got to get that feeling, you know?
Yeah, like, yeah.
Until before my heart transplant, when I died those few times, I sit back and, like I said, I could sometimes feel things. I relied on my equipment more than I relied on anything else. And now it's more sharing. I rely on equipment, some of my other stuff, and more feelings. Oh, I got a tingle over on this side, so there's something standing here. You know, that kind of thing. I don't know who it is yet, but sometimes I can get an impression as to who it is or what they look like or things like that, but I can't see them directly. You know,
absolutely.
Yeah,
everybody's different. Sandra in chat says, elemental. Could you refresh me on what that is? Joe, do you want to tell her what an elemental is?
Sure. It's been around forever on this earth. There's different types of elementals. Earth. Supposedly there's an earth elemental in Lep Castle in Ireland. That's the story anyway. I've not been there yet, so one of these days I will. But an elemental has basically been there forever. It's part of the earth. It's there, and for some reason it's there. I'm not sure exactly why a lot of times, but like the one in Lep Castle was called supposedly during some sort of a session that they were having, a seance or whatever. There's the one there in the house you were just talking about a few minutes ago, the place you guys visit all the time. There's one there. Mm-hmm. Why is it guarding the portal? You know, what's the purpose? Why are they here? What do they do? Do they guard things? Do they protect things? Do they walk around just being stinky, just like the one in Lep Castle does? I mean, that one up there supposedly smells really bad, very like rotten, earthy kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, but they've been around forever. Elementals have.
Absolutely, they have.
What's your definition?
I would have to agree with you on it. Elemental is what it sounds like. You think of the elements they take on the. What was that, Joe? Never been human. No. This is not a spirit. Yes, absolutely, energy. The one that is at the Nickerson Sneed, he's very protective, but he also is. I'll tell you what. Let me tell you this one. I'm very Native American drawn, and most of you know this. And yeah, but anyway, we had a experience at the Nickerson Sneed where it was just us girls, and we were trying to do our animal totems to see what our animal totems was. So we went under meditation, and the person that was leading the meditation started playing drumming music, but it was war drumming music, Native American style. And honey, that thing come down. I am a higher vibrational meditator because I'm used to it. But the girls, when they go out in the meditation, they go out at a lower vibration. So they got that elemental come straight up to their face. Like, you know, he was not happy. I don't believe that they're anything harmful. They're protective. I think they take on their environments when they're not.
They're protect.
Yeah, they really do. And as far as the elemental guard in the portal, I believe that it's almost like a keeper, because that's what I kept getting when I was under. I was under deprivation, actually, when I started seeing this portal as a whole. And you know what? At one time, I was like very riding the fence on portals, because I'm like, oh, I hear portals all the time. Portals here, portals there. Because that's what people want to throw out a lot in the paranormal field, which is cool and everything, but obviously portals are not everywhere, like, you know, but they are. Right. But there are thinnings, and there's a lot of them. So it makes sense to me, especially when you've had experiences. Joe, I got a question for you. Where you had open heart surgery and that heart transplant and you died a couple of times, did you have any experiences with that?
You know, you're about the fourth person to ask me that. uh, you know, no, not that I remember. I don't remember much. They found the heart for me. Thank you very much to my donor and their family. But they found a heart for me, and it was funny because all the nurses were walking around smiling, and I'm like, "What's wrong with you people? You know, usually you're very busy and you're very pleasant, but for some reason they're all smiling and they're all coming in looking at me and talking and things." It's like, okay, and long about 8 o'clock, I get a phone call on the black phone that I hadn't even touched this whole time. So I pick it up, hello, and they said, "We found a heart for you. We're going to go harvest it a little bit later, and we'll be here to put it in for you later on this afternoon." Oh,
Wow.
and I had only been on the list for about 2 weeks, maybe
Wow.
3, but not. It was very, very quick. I was on for a week, came down with an infection. They took all the metal out of me, put me on antibiotics for 7 days. And then when I was cleared up, they put me back on the list. And at the end of that week, Sunday morning, they found a heart for me. So
Wow.
pretty crazy. So I remember sitting there waiting all day. Along about 5 o'clock, Zoe comes up and he grabs my bed. And he says, "Okay, you need anything?" And I said, "No." He says, "Okay, let's go." Rolled me down to the operating room, put me in there, put the little funky hat on my head, and we rolled in. Um, and then I was sitting there telling jokes and stuff with the surgery team, and we were all laughing and joking about stuff. And finally, one of them comes up and says, "Yeah, you might smell some weird smells here." And I smelled cinnamon and nutmeg for some reason. I don't know. That's what I smelled. And
Huh.
boom, the next thing I know, I was waking up and looking around in a different ward with different nurses and different people that I didn't know. Uh, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? And my little brother was sitting right there at the foot of my bed. So I thought that was really cool. But uh, everything was fine. I had leaked. I was bleeding. After they replaced my heart, I was bleeding. They couldn't find where it was. So I stayed my chest propped open for another 24 hours down in the
Oh my
surgery.
God.
So here's my parents and my brothers and everybody and my friends are all getting texts. "Well, yeah, he's still bleeding, so we're going to take care of that," and blah, blah, blah. So they're all sitting here on pins and needles for an extra 24 hours on top of it.
Right.
So I wake up, they sewed me together and everything, and between my shoulder blades was just killing me. That's the only place that hurt because my chest
Really?
was so long and my shoulder blades pushed together. That was the only place that hurt. And they said, "Okay, you can't lay flat on your back for more than 2 hours. You need to turn over." So I reached over and grabbed the bar and pulled myself over on my side. How's that? That didn't hurt. No, didn't hurt. So I was fine, rolling over and stuff. And that was just that day. I couldn't stand up the next morning. But during that whole time, there was absolutely nothing that I remember except just dark, just gone and back. I'm
Wow.
hoping that eventually I'll start remembering things. I'll start getting flashes. If anything actually happened, I'm hoping that'll occur and I'll get some. But so
Right.
far, and that was November of 2016.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes, I mean, even though we die, I mean, especially like when we have them near death experiences, we don't always experience something. And a lot of times we shut it out. And yeah.
well,
But,
I know when I had my heart attack in July of 16, it was supposedly a widowmaker, and I had it at work, and a lot of my coworkers and stuff wound up at the emergency room with me. I took the ambulance because it was faster, and they and were you know my heart was racing. It would just take off, go up in 190 beats per minute range, and they'd of course paddle me to try to stop that, to shock it into a state. They used the paddles, I believe, about 35 times on me to try to get it to stop,
holy
from
shit.
and I would die. And one of the medium that used to be on our team all the time, she was sitting at the foot of my foot of the bed down there, and she and another friend of mine were sitting there, and And she said every time that I would die, I'd be out there screaming. She could hear me screaming, no, 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 send me back. I got to take care of Elliot. Send me back. So that happened every time I died. And she
Wow.
very touching in the beginning, but all I did was scream, no, 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 no. And she said, that's really getting boring. Come up with something new. So it turned out to be quite interesting, but I don't remember it. I just was going by what she was telling me.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of, I don't know. I don't know. I love your stories. But we are actually going over right now. And I've enjoyed talking to you, Joe. And I don't feel like we've been talking for hours. So, yeah. But I would like for you, I know Sandra that is watching and chatting back and forth on YouTube. She wanted to know if you went live with your paranormal investigation so she could watch.
We do at times. If it's a public or if it's a private residence, we don't.
Right.
But
of course.
If we actually have the ability to get online and do it, we certainly do. We did the Corona Library. They've got 7 ghosts in that place out here in Corona, California. We did that and a public investigation twice last year. And we try to go live every time we go someplace where it's a public venue, someplace or just a haunted house or something like that without people living. So we try to go live as often as we can. And that's at Pacific Coast Paranormal Investigation.com or Facebook.com PCP Investigations. So you can find it there.
Yeah, y'all gotta jump over and give their team a like. Joe's an awesome guy. He's a really, really good guy, and
a great team too.
From what I've heard, see, I ain't met him yet, so but I'll judge by Joe, and he's a good guy. So if he's gonna have a good team if he's a good guy.
People love him to pieces.
All right, guys. Joe, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate you so much, and I can't wait to see you again.
Yep. Can't wait to see you again, Holly. Thank you for inviting me on.
You're very welcome. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your night. I do want to mention something really quickly for all you pagans out there. It is Lamas. I don't even know how to pronounce that right, but happy Lamas. And for you guys who don't know what this is actually all about harvesting too. It's all about the dog days. They're dog days of summer. So the gardens are full. The fields are full of grain, and harvesting is approaching. So you just kind of take a moment to relax. And a lot of people I know like just sage. Everybody has different rituals that they do and stuff like that. But anyway, happy Lamas. I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday there. And peace out, everybody. You guys have a wonderful rest of your night. And I will see you guys next Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time with a guest. I don't know who it's going to be yet, but I promise I'll have you somebody. See you guys. Bye, Joe.
Bye, Holly.